Less than 300 years. That's all the United States has. On path to the machine, we follow the engines that built America. First, the cotton gin made Cotton King. Then, the iron horse bound the nation with steel. Now, the machine moves indoors. The factory. This is where the Industrial Revolution came to live. Where raw materials became products. Where immigrants became workers. Where children became laborers. And where America learned a new rhythm, the rhythm of the machine. This is the story of the American factory. The place that built the nation, and the people who built it with their hands. In 1821, a group of Boston merchants looked at the Merrimack River and saw power. Not political power. Water power. They built a city from nothing. They called it Lowell. By 1840, Lowell was the largest industrial center in America. 30 mills. 10,000 workers. Most of them were young women from New England farms. They were called the Lowell Mill Girls. They lived in company boarding houses, attended lectures, wrote poetry. They published the Lowell Offering, a magazine of their own writing. They had dreams. But the dream had limits. When profits fell, wages fell. When production increased, hours increased. In 1834, they went on strike. In 1836, again. They sang, "Oh, isn't it a pity, such a pretty girl as I, shoal." But the farm girls did not stay. Something else arrived. The Irish. The potato famine killed 1 million people in Ireland. Another million fled to America. They arrived in Boston, New York, Philadelphia. They were poor. They were Catholic. They were desperate. And the factories needed them. Irish women replaced Yankee women in Lowell. Irish men dug canals, laid rails, worked in mills. They were paid less than the girls had been. They worked longer hours. And when they tried to organize, they were fired. German immigrants came next. Skilled workers. Brewers, carpenters, machinists. They brought craft knowledge. They built unions. They demanded better. But the factory system was designed to replace skilled workers with ma. But workers did not accept the factory without fighting. They organized. They formed unions. In 1869, the Knights of Labor opened their doors to all workers. Black, white, immigrant, women. They dreamed of a world where workers owned the factories. In 1886, the American Federation of Labor was born. It focused on wages, hours, conditions. And it fought. At Haymarket Square in Chicago, a bomb exploded during a labor rally. Police fired into the crowd. 8 anarchists were convicted. 4 were hanged. At Pullman, Illinois, railroad workers struck against wage cuts. The federal government sent troops. Violence erupted. Eugene Debs, the union leader, went to prison. But the unions did not disappear. They grew. And slowly, painfully, the factory changed. The American factory built the middle class. It also exploited the poor. It welcomed immigrants. It also exploited them. It gave work. It also gave injury, exhaustion, early death. The factory was never just one thing. It was promise and betrayal. Opportunity and exploitation. The men and women who worked there knew this. They fought for better wages, shorter hours, safer conditions. They won some. They lost some. The fight continues. Today, the factory looks different. Automation has replaced millions of workers. The assembly line that Henry Ford perfected in 1913 now runs itself. The machines that once needed hands now have their own. But the questions remain. Who owns the work experiment shaping the future? Who owns the product? Discover more about its early days in our next video.